Warning, in this episode, we do talk about drug use that may trigger some. Enjoy the show. Hello, and thank you for joining us on Remix Your Marriage. My name is Lyndon.
And I'm Vanessa.
And today we are going to talk about the rest of our story, but also talking about the importance of dating and flirting.
I wanted to say that was a very deep episode last time for our episode 2. And I think it's beautiful that we're doing this. And I can't believe that we have over 100 downloads, which may be little to some people.
Yes, other podcasters are like, we do that every 2 minutes.
But for us, I was just hoping 10 people would, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this has been good.
Yeah, so I'm excited that we're doing this, and that I think it's the first time we've been so transparent with even each other and talking about this. So it's been hard. So I also want to remind everyone as we go into the story, we were 15,
16, yes.
And also a reminder, if you haven't heard episode 1 and 2, please listen to that so you will understand that these are two broken kids that came together and tried to have a relationship. All right? So
yes.
Please don't judge me.
No, you can judge. You can judge.
Yeah.
So
I don't want them to judge.
Well, they're gonna judge. That's just kind of how
listen if they're judging.
How the world works.
I don't approve of that.
What if they're judging you and they're like innocent and not guilty?
I don't think that's possible. I just would rather people not judge me.
Okay, so you guys can judge me. Do not judge her.
Thank you.
Deal.
I feel better.
Okay, so when we left off in the last episode, hopefully you've listened to the first 2 episodes. Vanessa and I had finally met. I had met my dream girl. And we were on the stairs and we talked, and I was very interested in you, but I had a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So. And
I had already pointed out my story, how I saw you and how it was like, I need to scam on someone else. And then I saw you walk up the stairs. And for me, even though I had already known you, I think you and your friends gave me and my friend a ride home or something.
Yeah, I didn't.
Again, Magic Mountain was the only thing to do out here. But I didn't like think anything of you.
You're talking about after we met.
Yeah, initially. After we met initially. Yeah, I remember you gave us both a ride home, and I actually thought
you know what? I love that you said I didn't think anything of you. That's so sweet.
No,
but it's okay.
I didn't think of you in that way. We were barely acquaintances.
Yeah,
I didn't know you. I just knew your name, and I was I told you I was dramatic.
I know.
I had a crush on someone else and got my heart broken. Not really, people. I was a very dramatic teenager. We had finally, through friends, we're making an extremely long story short. Lyndon found out that I was interested in him, that I thought he was fine.
True that.
And I knew that he felt the same way about me. However, he had a girlfriend.
Yeah. So going back to the whole girlfriend and my previous story of like being worried about being abandoned, right? Mm-hmm. So I had this girlfriend, very nice girl, but I was very interested in you. But because of my past, I'm like, I can't let go of this girlfriend, because if I go for you and you're interested in all that, and then you decide, I'm done with him, now I'm alone. Now I have no one. So I didn't do the right thing, and I should have gone and broken up with this girl, but I kept her on the side while I was dating you.
You did not. I was the side. And when I say that, it is because everybody knew they were both together. I was the secret. And what was sad about me is to go back to my dad. My dad had I think he had multiple affairs. I only knew of one. But I did know that he gave that girlfriend or whoever he was with priority over my mom. So I believe that in kind of my sick, sad, broken mind, that the mistresses were the more loved ones.
Right.
They were the ones given the most attention to.
Right.
So I actually liked that you had a girlfriend.
You accepted that.
I was fine with that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a big deal, which is so sad. Our relationship started as a lie.
Yes.
Being a secret was interesting because I think deep down inside it did hurt. I didn't feel good enough I didn't feel that you truly wanted to be with me because you would not. I think that there was something going on with us where it was like every week you're like, I'm going to tell her. This time I'm going to tell her, you know?
Yeah.
And in my head, there was nothing going on with you two. Like you didn't like her, you were just afraid.
Right.
And even though, me and my friends, because there was a group of my closest friends that did know that me and you were together, it almost felt kind of on the other side, kind of like I was a badass too. So sick. I know you guys, but I kind of felt that way as well. And at this time, the circle of friends that I was with, for a majority, were already sexually active. So I was the late bloomer, believe it or not,
At 15.
at 15.
Yeah.
Yes, at 15. And we, in everybody else's eyes at that time, and let me let you understand the music we were listening to.
I mentioned that in the last episode. And
The,
I do want to address the way you felt. The way I felt too, as a young boy at 16 years old, dating two girls, and my friends patting me on the back and like, you are the man and all that stuff. And even though on the outside I acted like I loved what we were doing, I hated it.
mm,
I felt horrible every day before, I'd wake up feeling guilty and knowing I need to make a decision here. I can't treat these girls like they're objects, so to speak,
mhm,
and I felt bad all the time. So when I was telling you, like, I promise you next week I'm gonna tell her we're done,
mhm,
I really meant that.
mhm,
And then I would see her and I couldn't tell her.
mhm.
So instead I would tell her, oh yeah, the Vanessa thing where it's not happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, because I was, number one, I was being a coward. And
Mhm.
number two, I didn't want to be alone.
Mhm.
And then you bring into the music that we're listening to and
Mhm.
talking about multiple girls and all this stuff that was
Yeah.
going on.
Take
And
my body for your pleasure.
yes, tonight
If
will
you
be the night.
know, you know.
Yeah.
What is very strange about it is the reason that I really fell for you was because you were so kind. And I know that sounds so weird because you had a girlfriend,
Yeah.
but you were the first boy I was with that was so respectful towards me. Even though, like, even when, we'd kiss and our first kiss, you were so respectful, but you were so sweet about everything, even to our first date. Even you treated me with such respect and you were so kind. Another thing that was so unique about you, you didn't cuss. Till this day,
Yeah.
my husband does not cuss at all. Even at your worst, you didn't cuss.
Yeah.
And I back then talked like a sailor.
Yes, you
Or is it
did.
a truck driver? Is it the same thing?
Yeah,
What's
I
it?
think it's probably
Okay.
the same thing. Yeah.
I did. And you hated it.
I did. Yes.
And I think that's what I really loved about you, or started falling, my crush just intensified with you because you were so sweet to me, and you saw you saw things in me that I didn't see in myself.
Right.
I was a horrible, horrible student. And it wasn't because I wasn't smart enough, it's because I didn't show up. I
Yeah, you did.
ditched. It was a talent. It was an art, the way I ditched classes. I taught other people how to ditch.
Yes.
And I
Always the entrepreneur.
always, always,
Yes.
I should have built a business. Oh no, that's
You,
so bad.
it's not too late.
and and Lennon would call me out on that. He would be like, "Why aren't you, why don't you just go to school? Why don't you just try?" And every semester I would want to do better. And I remember one time going, "Okay, this semester I am going to do my best. I'm going to show up to school. I'm going to get better grades. I'm going to do it." And I think it's because Lennon was the first, and I have to say the only person in my life at that time that believed in me. And I got a progress report, and it's so sad, but it was such a joyous moment for me. I didn't get one F. It was all D's.
There you
And
go.
he was the first person I was so excited to run to and tell. And you were, I cannot believe I'm going to cry about this. I haven't talked about this in so long, but you were so proud of me and you were so excited. And that's what I needed. And I think that's why I truly fell for you. And
Mhm.
even though knowing you had a girlfriend, I knew what we had was real. I
Yeah.
knew what we had was real. And I really believed you that it was hard for you to tell her. And I knew that you loved me or were
Yeah.
falling in love with me or
Absolutely.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, going into, we decided, it was actually a big decision. It didn't happen just like
What are you talking about?
we decided to have sex
Oh,
at
okay.
15. and you were 16,
Yes.
and we became sexually active and stupid.
True.
And I think that it was the end of the year you decided to tell the girlfriend, or no, she found out.
She found out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she found out. Was it your senior year that everyone knew? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we started our relationship. Our relationship was public.
It
And
was public. Look at that. Like our assistants and our publicists and everyone kept it a secret. And then finally we got permission from our A&R and our publishers to
we
go
were public.
public. Yes.
And then I got in the horrible habit. I would tell Lennon, okay, I think we should break up for a little bit. And it was because it was spring break and I was 16, maybe 17 at the
Okay, so let's rewind.
Okay.
Let's rewind. All right. I'm going to take you guys back. Hello. Hi. Hey, how you doing?
That is not what you would say. Hey, how you doing? Anyways, go ahead. Keep going.
I'm good, but we need to talk. Uh-oh. It's just that I feel like I just need some time alone, and I just think that we should just break up for a little while.
Okay, as a teenager, and if you look back now, at least I was not cheating on you.
I know. I was
I
still
was being
devastated.
honest. I was being honest. Yes, it was wrong, but I was being honest and I wanted to have fun with my friends and I didn't want to feel bad about it. It was all about me. I just
Yeah,
didn't
I
want to feel,
appreciate it.
I didn't want to feel guilty. No, it still sucked, but I was also so young,
Yeah,
you know. Now I look back at it, I'm like, that was a lot to expect out of
it is.
such young.
It's not impossible, but for us at the time, it's just what it was. And I was, obviously devastated, and
He wasn't that devastated, people.
everything that I was afraid of happening with us breaking up happened, and
He dated right away.
I retaliated.
You did not retaliate. Don't act like that. He acted as if it was my fault that he ended up being with someone else. So my problem is all right, I did not have Jesus at the time and I have a very bad temper.
Anyway, a brother retaliated. That's all I'm saying. And
You did not though. You liked this person and that's okay. That's okay. You were young. I broke up with you.
yeah,
Yeah, so just admit that. Well, don't
so
admit it right now because it'll still irritate me.
yeah, 107 years later, but that's okay. So again, that added to my insecurities of us breaking up, and then
This is very, very important.
going into later on in our life. So then
How
eventually
did it make you feel that I broke up with you all the time?
abandoned,
Mhm.
like I didn't have worth or value. Like you going to do other things was more important
I
than
was not sleeping around. I would like to clarify
yeah.
that. Okay.
But you going out to parties and all that stuff and breaking up with me so you could have more fun made me feel like, okay, so she doesn't have fun when she's with me.
Mhm.
She's only going to have fun if we're not together, and she can do whatever she wants. So that just added to my insecurities.
Insecurities.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get that. And for me, it wasn't even about you. I drank a lot, started at 14, and then started getting involved, started doing weed maybe at 15, 16, and then more stronger drugs back then. And
Yeah.
I hid it from you because Lyndon, I don't even think, love, did you ever do anything? You smoked weed maybe one time in your entire life.
I did try smoking weed twice.
Yeah, I think I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second time
And I didn't like it. I didn't like seeing you like that.
I remember I drove 2 miles and it took 5 minutes, and I swore it took 45 minutes. And everyone thought that was so funny. And I was like, well, I'm never doing this again. I don't know why. Anyway, so go ahead.
Man, was God watching over us. This is very bad stuff.
Yeah.
And I knew he wouldn't approve of that. And it's almost like I had two different personalities or two different lifestyles. And one was partying, doing drugs, going to raves, doing all these things with friends. But then when I wanted to be Lennon's girlfriend, that's when I wanted to be good. But then they ended up intertwining because I truly know I was getting addicted. And I remember dating you and still like hiding it,
Yeah.
And I think it just had to do with me being a person, a teenager that was hurting so much still from so much that was going on in my
Do you think
life.
that's why you started doing the drugs?
I started doing drugs, I'm going to be honest, just because everybody was doing it. It
Mhm.
didn't seem like a big deal. And nothing that I look back at now and go, oh my God, I can't believe I was doing that. Back then, it's like, okay, at 13, you have a boyfriend and you have your first kiss. At 14, you start drinking. Like I wanted to hit all those milestones.
Yeah.
And then I saw everyone, doing drugs, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to do that now too.
Right.
There was no thought process through it, and no one peer pressured me. If anything, I was the peer pressure.
And I can say something about my siblings growing up. My two older sisters and my brother. I don't even know if they remember this, but every single time we were in a store and we saw somebody who was beat up, Lyndon, they did drugs.
Same
We,
thing we
we
told
would
our kids.
we would see someone who was laying in a puddle behind a store, Lyndon, they did drugs.
Mm,
We would see somebody missing teeth on a magazine that looked all jacked up, Lyndon, they did drugs. So my whole, youth, I thought I will never do drugs because people that do drugs get jacked up.
yeah.
And that's why as I got older, my friends started, smoking weed. And I know speed was a big thing at the time. I didn't mess with any of that because it was ingrained in my brain that I was going to have missing teeth and I was going to have black eyes and,
Hmm.
be ashy. And, you can't be black and ashy and just walk
Never,
around. Yeah. So
never.
that's a huge reason why I stayed away from drugs. So I really have to give my sisters and brother credit for ingraining that in my brain.
Yeah, because it's not like you weren't surrounded by it.
Yeah.
And one thing you have to know about Lyndon too is that he was very popular with everyone. Everyone liked him. Teachers liked him. There were the jocks that liked him. There were, I don't know all the people, but we had so
Oh,
many
you sound
different
so
types
old.
of,
The
I know.
spaz, the B-boys.
Well, we had like jocks. We had, I don't know, we had like different types of people. I don't
There
want
it is. Different types of people.
different types of people. There we go.
I loved everybody, and
You did.
some
You
people
were the
loved
one
me.
that broke up fights. And then here comes me, his girlfriend, and I'm the opposite. I started fights. I got in a couple fights over him, which was ridiculous. That wasn't his fault. It was me again wanting attention and wanting to be the center of attention, wanting to know everyone to know, oh, don't touch my man, even though I broke up with him once a month, And so, yeah, I was hurting, very broken. I was very about the moment. I wanted the next high. I wanted to just have fun. There was no thought of the future. So, in going in this crazy life together, Lyndon, you ended up having to go after you graduated high school. You had to go back to Riverside.
Yes.
We kept kind of a long distance relationship.
Yes. So I ended up moving back to Riverside after I graduated, and my brother and I were responsible for taking care of my mom. So as I mentioned in the previous episode, my mom had gotten to a horrible accident, and the only way we could communicate with her at first was by her blinking. Later on, we were able to communicate through sign language, which was just letters. Just how God works. We had this sign language book in my house when I was a kid, and for whatever reason, all of us just decided to learn the alphabet.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
and we just, to this day,
Did your mom already know it?
I think she learned it when she got that book as
Yeah.
well. So when my mom came out of her coma and she wasn't able to talk to us, she would sign to us and just spell words. And my brother and I were taking care of my mom, and she was completely paralyzed. She couldn't do anything on her own. So that's why I went back to Riverside right after I graduated. I was there for about a year. And because of my bad decision making, my mom told me, you follow my rules in this house or you have to move out. Keep in mind, I'm 19 years old. I don't want to follow her rules because I don't think they're fair. So I ended up moving out and going back to Santa Clarita with no place to stay.
No place to stay. I
Yes.
mean, you literally slept in
Slept in public bathrooms.
public bathrooms.
I did
Yeah.
the whole couch surfing thing from friend to friend. I had no car at the time. So
You slept in my closet
you slept in your
at one
closet.
time.
Yes.
Yep.
And all of that was really to be closer to you.
Hmm. Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Didn't know.
Yes.
I thought because Santa Clarita was a home to you. So it was.
I'd say like the friends that I had there
Mhm.
were benefits, but it was really to get close to you. I mean, if you had moved to Ventura, I would end up,
Yeah.
homeless in Ventura for a
Yeah,
little while.
that's true. But you did build a life for yourself. And I was so impressed with that because you ended up getting your own room in a house, and it was on your own. You got a great job at that age. It was a
Yeah.
great job. And I
Got a
remember,
car.
yeah, I remember your room was immaculate. You had like your own comforter, your own, it was just like you really had your life together. And I did not.
Yes.
My goal was to be a go-go dancer in Hollywood. I wanted to move to Hollywood
Yes.
and dance on top of those podiums. I thought that was so glamorous. That is where my brain was.
And my brain was, I want to be a businessman like Philip Drummond, and I'm on my way to being. I want to be the father like like Cliff Huxtable.
Hmm.
So, which Bill Cosby played on the Cosby Show. So I'm mapping out my life to have this job and to have my own place, so I can start setting myself up to eventually be that father that my 10-year-old self knew I was going to be.
Mm,
So that was my focus.
yeah.
Of course, having you and loving on you and hoping that we worked was all there,
Yeah.
but I was starting to really focus on getting my life together.
And I've really had a feeling like we even talked about it like a couple months ago. I felt like he was dating someone else at the time. And I think that I was always accusing him of that. And I just had such an insecurity about our relationship. And I think it's because I saw him that he was starting to make something of himself. And I was still in the same place. I was still in high school.
Yeah.
I still trying to graduate from high school, and they had suggested that I go to a different school, a continuation school, because I just had too many missing credits. And I was by this time at my worst on drugs and doing it so much that it was actually not part of the partying part,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. It
Because
was
you said you knew it was bad when you did it
on
on
Christmas
Christmas
in
by
my
yourself.
room by myself.
Yeah.
And I even like in my head, I'm like, oh, this is really bad. But I kind of laughed at myself, and it was something I wanted all the time. Alcohol wasn't something I wanted all the time. Even, I mean, I smoked cigarettes, and yeah, I was addicted to cigarettes as well. But that was something that made me feel good. I also was obsessed about my weight and the way I looked, even though I was so, so skinny. I
Yeah.
never thought I was skinny enough. I had body dysmorphia. I just had so many things going on. But what's scary is I had no idea that anything was wrong.
Yeah.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
So we find out I am pregnant.
Yeah.
And the moment I found out I was pregnant, I was so happy. And why would I be happy? I was a mess. I was a mess of a person. And I think it's because I knew this child was going to save my life.
Hmm.
And I remember being so excited to tell you.
Yeah.
And what I expected was you to be so excited too, because in my crazy brain, I thought it was normal. Like, how many friends did we already know that,
Yeah.
were pregnant
And
and
how old are you at this time?
18?
18. Yeah.
And I went to your work to tell you, or maybe I told you over the phone, but when I went, I remember going to your work, like driving to your work
Yeah.
and expecting you to see me and be so excited. But he had the most scared look on your face, which scared me.
Yeah.
I'm like, he is not happy about this. He is not. How can he not be? And I was almost angry with him, which is so crazy to think, because of course he's just getting his life together.
Yeah.
And now his girlfriend is like, we're going to have a baby. Let's be happy. Like as if we have this normal, like as if we're married and everything's normal.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember in Boys in the Hood when she mentioned, what if I get pregnant? And he basically said, well, I don't want to have to deal with that in some form.
Mhm.
And she's like, oh, so you're ready to make the baby, but you're not ready to take care of one or something like that. In my thought, when you told me that, that's what I was thinking. Like, I can't be upset that you're pregnant
Mhm.
because I had no problem with the act.
Mhm.
So how can I be upset about the baby?
Yeah.
But what went through my head in that moment was like, I knew it. God told me I was going to be a father. So
Mhm.
now I have this new responsibility that I've been telling myself since I was 10 years old, that I'm going to handle my child and take care and be the father that I never had. So all that was going through my brain all at once when you
Mhm.
told me that.
Wow. And
Yeah.
And let's remember, Lyndon did not share emotion. He did not talk to me about his feelings at all at this time. So I never knew how Lyndon was feeling. Never. He was very good at when he did not want to, I should be talking to you,
You are.
when you did not want to talk about something. There was a time where there were two of us who confronted you.
Yeah.
And we won't go into detail. We got a lot of story, guys. And you literally would put a hood over your head because you're like, I'm just not gonna, I am
Yeah,
going
you're
to
saying
get into this wall.
it was you and another girl that confronted
Yes,
me
yes.
about some bad decisions I had made.
Bad decisions.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of bad decisions.
Yeah.
And so all I saw was your expression, and you looked terrified and you looked scared, which terrified me. And I'm like, should I be scared? I didn't know to be scared, as silly as that is. I didn't know. I'm like, well, so and so is pregnant. She has a baby, and I
Yeah.
know I can do it,
Yeah.
And then having to tell my mom, that was one of the most hardest things I've ever done in my life. And when I told her, she had planned on going to Missouri with my stepdad. They were going to possibly move there. I think they were just going to go there for the summer. And then as soon as she found out I was pregnant, she's like debating on whether she should stay. And till this day, I always say the most loving thing my mom did was when she found out, she left.
Mm-hmm.
And I was forced to figure this all out on my own. I was forced to finally grow up, to finally think about somebody else other than myself.
Yeah.
Finally think about this child and how I was going to raise him. And it was finally, I had like a future in my head. I had a plan.
You had a why.
I had a why.
Yeah.
And I instantly was like, overnight, my phone used to ring off the hook. It was like the minute people found out I was pregnant. It was
Yeah. Silent.
silent.
Yeah. And I remember when I told my mom, which it just tracks with my family, and my mom was the most loving, beautiful person in the world.
Most perfect person.
And I said, Mom, I just wanted to tell you that Vanessa's pregnant. And she mouthed the words, okay, how do you feel about that?
That's how she was.
And I said, I'm okay. I'm going to take care of this kid and I'm okay with it. And then she goes, okay. And then my sister punched me in the shoulder.
Hard, you told me.
Yeah.
I think she left like a bruise or something.
Well, Black people don't really bruise. So
You were going to say that.
It was a little tender, but it didn't bruise. But yeah, so that was the reaction from my mom and my sister at the time. Mm-hmm. Very different than your family.
Yeah, exactly. Very different. And my brother was very angry, didn't speak with me. So me and my brother lived in a house together, didn't talk.
So how did you, during that time of your pregnancy, how did you feel about yourself? Did you stop the drugs? Did you stop smoking during that time? Like, what was your thought during that time?
So it was overnight. And I thank God for that. I thank my mom's prayers, my grandma's prayers, because there's no reason that I should have just been able to stop because I was doing it so much. Mm-hmm. And I had no desire to have a cigarette. I had no desire to have a drink, and I had no desire to do drugs, no desire to party at all. I remember I was sitting on the couch and TBN was on, and it's Trinity Broadcasting. I don't even know if it's still on the air.
Network?
Yeah, network. And there was a preacher, and he basically said, I don't remember exactly what he said. Maya Angelou says, I don't remember what they said, but I remember how they made me feel.
Yes.
And I remember how it made me feel. And I just instantly started crying, and I gave my life over to Jesus in that moment on that couch. And I said, I am yours. I want my child to know you. I want to be the best mom I can be. And I came back to God because I grew up in the church. And so I came back to God that night or that day, whatever. And then I started going to, remember, we went to a small church.
Yeah.
They all welcomed me. They all knew me since I was little.
Yeah. You were still little.
I know I was still little.
You were 19. You were 19.
I was 19 one night in October, and then we had him January.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I just decided to turn my life around, went to dental assisting school. Everything changed. And January 11th, 1994, why am I getting emotional? We had little Lyndon.
Yes. And um, we had him in Northridge. In 1994, on January 17th, was the Northridge earthquake that flattened the
Just
city.
crazy.
My son was due on the 17th. He came 6 days early.
Hmm.
And
And if he, I mean, I can't even imagine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
But I walked every day. I ate all over. I wouldn't even take an aspirin because I'm like, God forbid anything happened to this
yeah,
child. I want to know that I did everything I could. And so, I mean, in my life, I was a transformed person because it became, and that doesn't happen. I truly understand
yeah,
that does not happen to everyone, but that happened to me. And I know Jesus used him to save my life, you know.
yeah.
And then we did not, everybody wanted us to get married.
Yes.
And
It was a beautiful, like, that whole time of you being pregnant and giving birth, and like that was just such a beautiful thing. I'm so happy that I have my son. I thought for sure he's going to be a girl, but now I have my son. So
he
now,
knew he was going to be a girl and his name was
yes,
Jasmine. We
yes.
do not have a Jasmine, by the way.
But now I have my son.
Mm,
So now I'm in my father's position.
mm,
I have a son. I'm 20 years old. And now I know that there is nothing in this world that's going to separate me from my son.
mm.
There is no one holding a gun to my head. There is no one doing anything to me that's going to make me walk away from my
And I
son.
have to say, Lyndon, I said a lot of me, me, me. No, you.
Oh,
Oh, you thought you know what I was going to talk about. You were there for me every minute of my pregnancy. You stayed with me at my mom's house.
yes.
You made sure I was eating. You were there when I went. I mean,
Yeah.
every minute he worked. He got 2 jobs,
Yeah. I got a second
a
job.
second job, never, ever left my side till this day.
Yeah.
You never left my side. So I think it is so beautiful. How did you know to do? I mean, now you're explaining,
Yeah.
but it's like you really, you know, what's crazy is you made that commitment to yourself
Yeah.
that you were going to do that.
Yeah.
And you did drop off a video while I was in labor, though.
So just real quick side story. She was in labor,
But we're so young, we
but
didn't know I was in labor. So I took a bath because I'm like, I have really bad backache. So I'm just going to take a bath at 3 in the morning. You're not supposed to take a bath when you're in labor.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so at that time, we rented videos from a video store. And if you were late returning them, they charge you like $2 a day.
Nothing's changed, people.
So on the way to the hospital, I was
It does
like,
not like late fees.
yes, I was like, what if we're in the hospital for like 3 or 4 days? This video is going to cost me like $10. So let me just stop real quick and
And I'm
drop the video
thinking,
off.
I am in labor and this man is at Mr. Was it called Mr. Video?
Yeah.
Anyways, that was funny. But there the whole time, and I remember you looking at little Lyndon. Oh my goodness, when he was born, it was surreal.
Yeah.
And it's weird to think I was 19 and you were 20,
Yeah.
and we were having this baby, and we
Yeah.
just knew we could do it. We knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After we had our baby, that is when everything changed.
everything.
And I have to say, in all honesty, it changed for the worse
Yes, it really did. As far as our marriage,
as far as
our relationship.
yeah, we weren't married.
We weren't married, although I was planning a wedding for I was planning a wedding and Lyndon had never proposed to me. So I asked my friends to be bridesmaid. We had the bridesmaid dresses picked out, went to get my dress made. All of this, talked to my mom. My mom, you know, it's like, I'll pay for your dress and I'll do, because my mom didn't have a lot. And we're like, no, we're going to make it simple. Talked about my uncle, about he was going to marry. And then Lyndon, you got to working a lot of hours. You were hardly home.
Yeah, I got into the car business.
Yeah, you got in the car business. You were hardly home. Back then, he had a pager. I would page him all hours of the night. Here I am with a baby. He would not call me back. I would look out the window waiting for him to come home. We had roommates. We had our best friends. They were our roommates at the time. And I just would vent to them and tell them, I cannot live like this. He's not coming home at night. He's not answering. Every single time he didn't answer me, I thought he was dead. I thought he had a car accident. And it was just so unfair. And it just kept building up and building up. And I'm like, I cannot raise a child this way. Meanwhile, I'm in about to go into dental assisting school. I'm about to make a life of myself. And this man can't get it together.
So my thought at the time was I have 2 jobs. I'm working all these hours. I'm hanging around with guys that are like, you deserve to go out after work. If you go home right now at midnight, she's already asleep. Your baby's asleep. So what are you going to do? Just watch TV? So come out with us and a couple of my friends. So that's just became the thing to do. We'd go out, we'd go to clubs, we'd just be out all night. I was by this time 21 now, so I was legal and just being stupid. So I'm having the time of my life in my brain. I'm like, she has my baby, so she's not going to do that whole thing where she breaks up with me for the summer. Like, she's my baby mama, so she's ride or die. So I'm good. And one night I get home at 4 o'clock in the morning and all my stuff in my apartment is on my balcony and she has me locked out. You're saying, like you didn't
Yeah,
know?
because it's so weird. My memory is so bad. I
Yeah.
barely remember doing that, but I know I did it because it's a
Yeah.
significant moment in our relationship. And I just remember being absolutely fed up.
Yeah.
I was done and I knew that I was capable of having a life without you. And I had been, even though I had broken up with you so many times and all that had happened, I was still very
Yeah.
dependent on you for everything, for just emotional support, just being there. And then I think I had this epiphany going, wait, I graduated dental assisting school. I'm making my own money now. I found a way to get health insurance. I found a way. I'm doing this all without my mom and without,
I
I
don't
can,
need him.
yes, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I cannot take another night of not knowing whether you're dead or alive. Like
Yeah.
I can't take that. So yeah, I kicked you out and I was done. What is insane is that I was really done. Like
Yeah.
there was not one part of me that had a desire to be with you anymore at that time.
Yeah.
Not a desire.
Well, I moved out. So I
You
moved
moved
in
out.
with a friend of mine.
Where were you? How far were you from
I
me?
was about 200 feet in a different apartment with a friend of mine.
We had friends. We all lived like in the same apartment complex, and
Yeah.
he lived across the street. So
But,
Lennon lived with
it
him.
was inconvenient and we were apart for a little while.
His stuff was no longer in the room.
Yeah.
Okay, we were really broke. We were
Yeah.
really broken
We
up.
were done.
And he would come and get Lyndon Jr. take him for the day, and then I would be, by myself. I remember going with friends to movies, and still,
And to Venice.
yeah, it was awful. I felt awful inside, knowing that I was going to do this by myself, but I knew I was going to do it. Lennon made me mixtapes called LC Seductive Love Jams, which makes no sense because,
Trademark.
yeah, whatever. He would drop them off at the door. He would write me letters. He would, I mean, consistently call me, try.
My sister had called me and she out of the blue and she's like, "So how are you and Vanessa?" And I'm like, "Oh, we broke up." And she was like, "Why?" And I go, "Oh, because she's tripping because I'm working too much and she just doesn't want to have to deal with this." And, I kind of fabricated a little bit. And she's like, "I'm telling mom." So she tells my mom, my mom, so now my mom is slowly progressing. So now she has a little bit of a voice. So my mom calls me and she's asking me what's going on. And I told her, and I honestly believe that my mom did not want my son to go through what I went through without a
Mm,
father. And I think she felt like I was going in that direction where I
yeah.
was going to, be like him. So she just wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
So,
And I have to say that Lyndon's mom is like, she is an angel in my life. She has done nothing, and I'm not even exaggerating. She has done nothing wrong. She has always been so respectful. I think mostly because she was always on my side.
yes.
She truly loved me like if I was her own child, and I had the utmost, biggest respect for her more than anyone in my life. And when she called me and she can barely speak on the phone, it's really difficult for her to speak on the phone. All she said was, "Hi, how are you?" And I said, "I'm okay." And she said, "Would you just do me a favor? Could you and Lyndon just come over here and just come talk to me? I just want to talk to you." And I said, "Yes," because I can't say no to her.
Yeah.
And then I remember hanging up the phone and you go, "Can I have a hug?" I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
I am just talking to your mom out of respect." And then on the entire ride there, we talked about
We drove to Victor.
everything.
Yeah.
We drove to
It's about
Victorville.
an hour and a half
Yeah,
drive.
hour and a half drive. We spoke the whole way and then cleared up a lot of things. I don't remember what it was. I'm kind of just going over through it fast because knowing what I know now, we still were not ready to be married. However, I talked with her, and then again, I don't remember what she said. I just remember how she made me feel. And I knew I wanted to be a part of this family. I knew I wanted to be a part of her family. And we looked at each other and we're like, there's no reason for us to be together if we're not going to get married. And a week later, he comes to my work, gets down on one knee, proposes in front of everyone, makes the big splash, which is very sweet. Then a week later, or actually the next day, we told everyone, we're going to Vegas. We're getting married. And people were mad because we got married on a Wednesday. But you know what? We were broke.
Yes.
And Wednesday was a lot cheaper than getting married on a Friday, Saturday.
We saved like $30.
Yes. How much did we pay for license, ministered, chapel? Like $200.
Yes. And that was tough for us. That's
that was really hard.
But yeah.
And my mom still got me my dress.
Yes. Megan was there. Our
yes.
friend Megan, who
still is my BFF.
Yeah, she was there.
She was there. And
I want to say that
mom and my stepdad, but some people couldn't make it because they were pregnant.
Because they were pregnant.
Well, she couldn't make it because she was 9 months pregnant.
Well, I was going to say that there were a handful of other people that would have been there, but it was really, really short notice.
It was such short notice, and we held nothing against anyone. We knew this was about us. It wasn't about the big wedding or anything. We just wanted to get married.
What was the name of the chapel?
The Silver Bell.
Silver Bell.
Yeah, it's next to the
Little White Chapel.
Little White Chapel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then next to that's the Little Black Chapel. If not, okay.
And we spent a week in Vegas. Our son was 2 years old. And then we were married and we lived happily ever after.
Yes. So this is it. That is your story, my story.
Background.
Our story of coming together.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get into the marriage stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to share with you so many tips and things you can do to have a better, stronger, more passionate.
I would like to add a tip to this one.
How not to interrupt.
Okay.
Oh no, go ahead.
But I would like to add this because in the turmoil and the dysfunction of our relationship, and I know we were very young, one thing that I think it's important to do when you're married and when you've been married maybe a couple years, for some people it starts to feel a little boring. You're like, what is going on? Is this it to marriage? Yeah. Go back to what you did when you were dating. Like, think about the things that made you so happy and gave you butterflies in your stomach when you were dating. And one of the things that I loved that you did was you wrote me letters. No, he didn't text me. He physically wrote me letters. And Lennon is an artist and he used to draw pictures of like all my favorite characters. At the time I loved Roger Rabbit, and he would draw Roger Rabbit with heart eyes and with a beautiful poem. And Lennon is a beautiful writer as well.
Thank you.
And he would write me all these things. And I think that's so important, just to add that to your week or add that to like a surprise, you know? And
well, let's do this.
Okay.
So we'll get more into that on another episode. But I think your assignment, if you will accept, is to send your spouse a sweet, sexy, flirty text, a few throughout the day. Just surprise them.
I know, your love language is physical touch.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that it needs to be. If you don't know 5 love languages, get it right now. Stop, pause, buy it right now. But most people do know 5 love languages.
Yeah.
And physical touch is Lennon. It doesn't necessarily mean sexual. It doesn't mean that, actually. Yeah. It means like holding hands, or he loves that. So I know that if I do that, that's where he feels most loved. So I would say work on that.
I'd say yours is acts of service.
Yeah, I feel like it's changed a little bit.
Yeah. So she would love to see me work and cutting the grass.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes, that's my favorite. Washing dishes.
Yeah.
Man.
So basically her employee, but it's okay.
So next week we get one step closer to episode 5, but we'll talk about the beginning of our marriage.
Yes.
Yeah. And give you some tips then.
Some things to avoid.
Also, yes. Yeah. Things to avoid, people. Also, please, if you can, because we're new, rate, but not only rate this podcast, can you also write us a nice review? And it would help us out a lot.
It would.
So much. We appreciate you guys that are listening. Oh my God. It means so much to us.
Remix
so much.
And RemixYourMarriage at gmail.com. Any questions or comments? We love them.
Yes. If you want us to talk about a specific topic, we can do that. So RemixYourMarriage at gmail.com.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Until next time.
That's going to be your sign off.
So I think I like Love Hard.
I do too.
Love Hard, Remix Your Marriage. And we out.
Peace.
Yeah. So you know what?